Shalom everybody, and today we're studying Parashat Hayei-Sarah, the book of Genesis, chapter 23, verse 1. And it starts with the words, Vayu Hayei-Sarah, 100 shana ו-20 shana ו7 shanim shnei Hayei-Sarah. And this is a very, very significant verse. The name of the parasha is Hayei-Sarah, the life of Sarah. However, we are being told that she died. So most of the big part of the parasha, I think the whole parasha, is the aftermath of the death of Sarah. Still, the name of the parasha is not the death of Sarah and the aftermath of it, but the life of Sarah. So why is it mentioned this way? And that is going to give us a lot of answers about what is life and what is death? When is that you are alive and when is that you're dead? And let's go to the beginning. In the beginning, we have the book of Bereshit, Genesis, starting with the creation of the world and Adam. And every year, around the same time, we're starting to read the same book all over again. And why? Don't we know it? We are doing this reading schedule for over 3,000 years already. Maybe it's time to read another book. Don't we know the book by heart already after so many years? And the answer is that we are not reading Genesis, Exodus, and so on just because it's a study book, or it's a tradition, or it's a religion. We're doing that study because we are referring to the 5 books of Moses, as like many sages along the generations refer to it. It's a tree of life for the ones holding on to it. Which means the whole question is like this: do you think that your grip onto the tree of life is strong enough? Then maybe you don't need to read the book. But if your grip on the tree of life is not strong enough, and you find, too many times a day that you lose the grip and you fall into the tree of knowledge evil, that means that your journey connecting to the tree of life is not there yet. And therefore, you need to continue, and with more vigor, your journey of connecting, harnessing yourself to the tree of life. In other words, let's say, if we're talking about in a more modern language, installing the programming of the connection to the tree of life inside ourselves, and hoping that with this year's hard work, it's going to be giving better results than in previous years. So, how do you know I know that there are better results? My life's supposed to be much happier, healthier, more enlightened, more calm, more positive, more spiritual. Now, how is that connected to the parasha? Because most of the book of Genesis, Bereshit, is the story of Abraham's family. Do we need to read that story in order to know the history? Is that, if you see yourself as a child of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so you need to know the story, same way your grandparents will tell you over and over the story of their childhood and their parents and their grandparents. So you have this idea to what do you belong to? But that's not the case over here. Although a lot of people think so. It's not the case. The case is that whenever a new year is starting, and I speak about it every year, whenever a new year is starting, it's a big restart of our souls and our brains, our consciousness and subconsciousness. The high holidays are the greatest opportunity for all of us to activate that restart. Hopefully, The new year started and we are in a different place. We are in a better place. However, to ensure that we are connected properly to the right network, we need to make sure we are connected to the right programs, to the right clouds, to the right wavelength. And that, to ensure that, we need to read, to learn, to study, and to connect the book of Genesis. Every year, we start it all over again, because every year we need to update our version of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rivka, Jacob, Rachel, Leah, and the 12 sons of Jacob. Each one of them, yes, it represents a human being that lived on earth many, many years ago. However, we are not that excited about it. It's not what's important. What's important is not just the legacy each one of these individuals left behind him. It's more than that. It is the, if we want to explain that, I have an example I repeat a lot. Somebody is a computer genius. He can write programs like no one else on earth. He buys a new computer and he realizes that buying the hardware is not enough. They want a high price for the operating system. You know, operating system, that there's a cost. It's not cheap. It's not a few dollars. So he says, you know, why am I crazy? I'm not going to pay that amount of money. I have the ability to write the whole program by myself. So he sits and writes the whole program by himself. And he's a fool. Why is he a fool? Because how long would that take one human being to write the operating system of a computer? And we don't need only one. There's one that we need to operate the system, okay, the computer. Then you need another one to go online. You need a browsing system that also, let's say, many times that browsing system also is hosting your email provider, that is hosting in the cloud. It's hosting a lot of your files because you need a backup, or many times you don't use your computer anymore. You just back it all up in the cloud because, you know, computers, they fall apart, they break, they change, and you can't just store them on the computer. And that's why some computers come with a very small memory. Or if it's your phone, our phones cannot hold all the memories, all the pictures, all the documents, everything that we need to carry with us from one year to another. How is that connected? A human being as smart as one individual can be, as spiritual one individual can be, you want to connect the operating system of your brain and the ability of your brain to connect to the cloud, the real cloud, the original cloud. Remember, when we read the book of Exodus and the book of Leviticus and go on, there's a one word that repeats many times, the cloud. The cloud that settles over the tabernacle. This is the meaning of that cloud, is memory, connection, protection, all of it. So the modern cloud is just an imitation of the biblical cloud. When are we installing that ability in our consciousness? Every year when we read the book of Genesis all over again. Abraham, we don't really learn his history. There are many gaps in the story. What did he do between the age of this and that? And how did that really happen, that story and that story? And how did he write the book of formation? And what kind of astrologer he was, or an astronomer? And what was his life before he declared his monotheism? The Torah does not give us all of these details. It's not a soap opera, it's not a telenovela, it's not a story of that kind, it's not gossip, but it is basically the blueprint of the structure of the universe. You know, you want to read Sir Isaac Newton, one of the greatest minds in the history of science, and he says the same thing. All the programming of the universe and the structuring of the universe and the inner understanding of physics and metaphysics, it's all in the Torah. Okay? So why do we read it? Because we want to reinstall, update our programming. So when we learn about Abraham, we learn about that amazing force within us that we have to activate no matter what the cost is. And that is the force of kindness and love. What the texts are saying, it's called chesed. I never found a real word in English that can be equivalent to chesed. Chesed is grace, giving, loving, kindness. It's all together. Chesed is the power of generating a force that only human beings conscious of loving and caring in spite of their other needs. That energy is generated, as I explained last week, by us, and that's the only thing that stays forever. Which means a human being can accumulate fortune, fame, a lot of things. They don't stay. You don't take it with you after you die. And therefore, they're never really yours. That's why you can see a lot of people that they have a lot of things, a lot of money. Today, money is not a thing. It's a number in the computer, in the bank. Or many computers in many banks. It doesn't matter how many accounts you have. Still, it's not really yours. And that's why you see a lot of people that it looks like they have everything and more than everything. And they're never showing it because they're not generous, they're not happy, they're not fulfilled, they're not satiated, like we read in this parasha about Abraham. He lived his life, and when he left the world, he was satiated. He had it all. We read this in this parasha, chapter 25, verse 8. And verse 9, it says, ויקברו אותו יצחק וישמעאל בניו אל מערת המכפלה. And Yitzchak and Ishmael, his sons, they buried him in the cave of Machpelah. It doesn't say there was a huge funeral. His two sons came to the funeral. How could he be so satiated when his message did not create the funeral of thousands and hundreds of thousands, millions of people? That's the way it should be. And still, we know today, 4,000 years later, that he's still a celebrity. 4,000 years later, he's still famous. Like, it's almost impossible to find a location on this earth that people never heard about Abraham. 4,000 years later. Which means the legacy is not how many people knew him or followed him or acknowledged him when he was alive. We're talking about the impact on the history of humanity. And the impact is so huge, still 4,000 years later, and we still did not really adopt Abraham's gift enough. But his gift is chesed. And chesed means, as we said, that force that when a human being overcomes his narrow-mindedness, stupidity, ignorance, selfishness, and you create an energy of giving, sharing, open heart, loving, reaching out to others, and really being of help, this is what chesed is about. And when you generate something like this, this stays forever. You can come one lifetime after another. That chesed you created stays always with you. The only thing that stays with you. And another thing, we learn also that the creation of God is basically the light. When it says that God said, let there be light. This is the light of pleasure. This is the light of feeling high. This is the light of power and life and wisdom and all of that together. It's pure, concentrated, real, true, eternal energy. How much of it is there? Endless. Endless. How much can I own? How much can I hold on to? And here comes the Kabbalistic teaching to teach us that the light, the real light, the essence of life, the real force and power, the true one, that light that it says God said, let there be light. That force, there's only one way we can capture that force. There's only one true vessel that can hold on to that force. Chesed. The chesed we create, it's an illusion. Why? We think that it's something about giving up. It's not ours anymore. Money, time, energy. Giving up. It's like chesed is about letting go, giving, sharing, being there for somebody else. Which means the moment I gave to somebody else, I lost. That's what a human brain that is not developed enough thinks. That's what the eyes tell you. The money, the time, the energy, the things you gave to other people because they were in need, the moment you gave them, they're not there anymore for you because you gave them up. But the moment you give, you generate that power that is called chesed. Chesed stays forever. Chesed is the foundation of the universe. Ha'olam chesed yibaneh. That's a foundation of the universe. Tzidkato omedet la'ad. The charity will stand forever. This is the illusion that today our education is so lacking because we don't teach that in school. That should be the main teaching in school. What do you learn in school today, in our society? How to take. You know, you learn and you learn and you learn, and what do you learn? How to achieve more taking. How to make more money so you can get more stuff and pleasure. But that doesn't stay, it's elusive. So the way we see the world around us is not the way it's really built. Who are the richest people? The people created more chesed than others. Only chesed can contain the light of wisdom, the real eternal light of the creation. That's the only way to capture it, to enclose it, to contain it, and to keep it. This is the very important thing. So the last parashot, Lech Lecha and Vayera, about the life of Abraham, the life of that person that established the real computer program, the human program that is called Chesed. We'll read about Abraham, we'll learn about Abraham, not because it's a human being that we're really interested about what kind of a life did he have. No, we learn about Abraham because we want to connect to the software of how does a human being generates as much chesed as possible. And the Zohar is teaching us, the more chesed you generate, the more satiated you'll become. See, Abraham lives this world satiated. What's real satiation? What's real eternal pleasure, contentment? It all depends on the chesed you build. So again, when it says that the whole Torah is based on loving others as loving ourselves, it's not a nice idea. Yeah, it's a nice idea. But people don't understand that idea. Why? They think that when we give to others, we do them a favor. Well, when we learn from Abraham is when you give to others, you do yourself a favor. You have to thank them for that. As you read last parasha, when he runs to the angels, he's like circumcised, he had an operation, he's pain. Okay? And he thanks them. And he makes it look like they do him a favor coming to be his guests. And that's what he really believes. And that's why he's Abraham. And that's why he has an eternal memory. And that's why he's a prototype of the spiritual human being. So, you think that it was only Abraham? So now we're talking about Sarah. Vayu Hayei-Sarah. And here it says something, we have now an addition, in order to complete the picture, because all of these, what we call fathers and mothers, in Hebrew it's the fathers and the mothers. I don't know, I don't like the word patriarchs and matriarchs. That's not Hebrew, and it's a very dead word of a dead language. In Hebrew, it's fathers and mother. When we say, when somebody speaks Hebrew, says Avraham Avinu, he says Abraham our father, not patriarch. It's a something that belongs to the past. Matriarch, very remote. Avinu is our father. Imenu, Sarah Imenu, our mother. Okay, that's very. What I mean, father and mother? Yes, genetically, if you're genetically Jewish, all the way to Abraham, yes, but many of the Jews are descendants of converts. And we all call them Avinu and Imenu because it's not about the genes we are talking about. It's about this is a prototype. In Hebrew, prototype is a father also, Av. This is the prototype of every human being. If you want to be a human being that is really connected to the legacy, beyond that, to the calling of being created in the image of God, you need to be leaning, connected to Abraham and Sarah. You need to have their programming running inside your systems so you can operate properly and get what your heart and soul really desires. Most people dive to what I call high and by. You connect to the light, you connect to pleasure, you connect to high, you connect to excitement, and there's a morning after. Because you did not generate chesed. And chesed is the only vessel, as we said, that can contain the light, the true light, and keep it with you, lifetime after lifetime, till you build up your whole complete feature of the image of God. So when we read about the life of Sarah, again, it's like, it's English. English, what can we do? Is a very new, young language. English just started to become English maybe with Norman the Conqueror, when he conquered England. They didn't speak English. They spoke Celtic, they spoke Anglo-Saxon, like kind of a German dialect, and French and Latin, and all mixed together till the English language came the way we understand now. That's only recently. And it's all like evolving all the time. So English is Hebrew and English and German and French and Latin and Celtic and who knows what else. And it's not made, what can I say, to connect to the creation. When we say Vayu Hayei-Sarah, it says really, and the lives, plural, of Sarah, where, in plural, 100 year, and 20 year, and 7 years. Shnei, the two, lives, in plural, of Sarah. Okay? That's, if you read it simply as a little kid reads the text. And today, basically, if you're a little kid, you grew up in Israel, you can understand every word in this sentence. Although that was written 33 centuries ago. Okay? So why is it the lives of Sarah? Why does it say it's 2 lives of Sarah? And why do we talk about 100 year? It doesn't say 100 years. It says 100 year, 20 year, and 7 years. So, 2 things over here. In this parasha, we read very weird stories. For instance, the Zohar has many stories that are really like fantastic. I love this parasha because the stories over here, they're so like it's like beyond fantasy. For instance, it starts with the Book of Jonah. What does the Book of Jonah have to do with that? But whoever knows the Book of Jonah, it's not a big book, read the book. And the Book of Jonah speaks about Jonah, a man that lived in Israel of today, some 27, 28 centuries ago, and he gets a prophecy. And the prophecy says, go to Nineveh, that was the capital city of Assyria. Was a huge, the story said, was a huge city. And God is telling him, go to Nineveh, and you have to prophesy to them that they are sinful and they have to repent. If not, that Nineveh is going to be destroyed. And Jonah doesn't like the idea that he has to do something for somebody else. He wants a private, innocent life. Leave me alone. So, but the prophecy is still like haunting him. So what does he do? He takes a boat going to the island of Tarshish. He wants to get far away as possible. Okay? And there's a storm. And the storm is so abnormal, so weird, that everybody on the boat says this is something really special. One of us made a big mistake over here, and we are being punished because of it. So they pray to their gods, it doesn't help. And then finally, Jonah admits it's because of me. Throw me to the sea, and you're all going to be saved. They don't want to do it. We're not murderers. He says, like, get me down to the water. You see, the sea is going to be quiet. And that's what they do. They bring him back into the boat. Huge storm. Finally, they throw him into the water, and a big fish swallows up Jonah. And Jonah is still alive in the belly of the fish. Does it remind you something? Pinocchio and Geppetto, they took it from here. Okay, Jonah is one of the 24 books of the Bible, the Hebrew Bible. So, Jonah repents, and after a few days, the fish dies. Only then Jonah is willing to repent. And he prays, please God, I'll do anything you want. So, the fish comes back to life. Resurrection. And the fish drops Jonah on the shores, and Jonah goes to Nineveh. Okay, so what a fantastic story, right? Who could believe a story like this? And then there's another story the Zohar is bringing us. I love this story. It's crazy. It's like, this story is about Psalms Psalms 98. Psalms 98, it says, it's a psalm, sing to God a new song. What does it mean, a new song? So the Zohar says it's a very famous midrash. When the Israelites, during the time of the high priest Ali HaKohen, that was before the reign of King Saul as a king. Before Shmuel, that was the time Samuel the prophet. Okay, he just became the prophet after that event. So the story is there was the Mishkan, the tabernacle. There was a temple in Shiloh for almost 400 years. And there was a war going on for centuries against the Philistines. The Philistines, or in Hebrew, Plishtim, okay, which means in Hebrew, the invaders, Pleshet, invaders. They were kind of a Greek, semi-Greek nation that invaded from the Greek islands to the shores of the eastern Mediterranean, and everybody called them Plishtim because they were invaders. They were from a foreign country, foreign language, foreign culture, but they were really powerful warriors. They had technology that the locals did not have, and they took over long parts of the coastline between Egypt all the way up to whatever today is Syria. And they were called the invaders Plishtim. The Greeks called them, after that name, Palestinians. Okay, the word Palestine came from that name, which in Hebrew, Pleshet, P-L-S-T, that means in Hebrew, invasion. So they gave a big headache to all the nations, including in the area, including the Egyptians. There are documents about it in Egyptian documents, and all the way up till north of Syria. And they giving the Philistines, they gave a lot of troubles to the Israelites. And once there was a very, very crucial battle between the Philistines and the Israelites, and the Israelites took the Ark of the Covenant to the battlefield. And they won. And it took the Ark of the Covenant hostage. They were so excited. They took the Ark to one of their cities. They had 5 major cities: Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gaza, Gat, Ekron. These were the main 5 cities of the Philistines. And they took the Ark to the biggest city. They celebrated the whole night, got drunk. They woke up in the morning and the statue was broken. Everybody had hemorrhoids, and there were like plague of pestilence all over. And they got the idea that could be that the Ark of the Covenant doesn't like being in their temple. So the rulers of the city became very gracious, and they gave the Ark to another city. Same story. They didn't tell what happened, but the same story happened again. They celebrated the whole night. In the morning, the statue is broken, everybody is sick in bed, and you see rats all over the place. So they became very giving, and they gave the Ark to another city. After 5 nights, not one city wanted to hold the Ark of the Covenant. So the rulers of the 5 cities came together, decided, we are going to check out what is this a miracle or just a coincidence? So they decided the way to do it is to build a new wagon, new wood, and to harness it to 2 cows who just gave birth. They would tie the calves, the young calves, to the city gate, and if the cows, the mothers, will go towards the Israelites, they would know that this is a miracle, because a mother cow will never leave its calf behind and walk miles and miles and miles to another place. And that's exactly what happened. The cows went to Beit Shemesh with the Ark of the Covenant. And it says, Vayasharna haparot. That could mean, it's a book of Judges, but that could mean that, no, I'm sorry, the book of Samuel. That could mean that the cows, where exactly? I can't find it right now. So that means that the cows literally went straight to Beit Shemesh. But the legend says Vayasharna means also they sang. What did they sing? What did they sing? They sang Psalms 98. Why is it a new song? Because cows don't sing psalms. That's new that cows sing psalms. Really like a crazy story. Okay? But all of these stories, and there are many of them along this parasha. What's special about all these stories? The lives of Sarah. What does it mean? Did she have a double life? Yes, she did. Sarah, it says in the previous parasha that when Abram had a problem with Sarah and he asked God, who should I listen to? And God said, you should listen to Sarah. And the commentators are saying, when you have two prophets, one is bigger, one is smaller, the smaller should listen to the bigger. Who's the bigger? Of course, Sarah. Sarah was, let's say, one of the commentaries says she was a bigger prophet. Why? She was a mother. She was a woman. She, on one hand, was so high spiritually that she could really reach very high places. On the same time, she was practical and she knew this physical world and she knew exactly how to deal with it. A prophet that can live in both dimensions is a much bigger prophet than someone who just flies high in the upper worlds. So she was a higher prophet, and therefore her word was more accepted, and her prophecy was stronger. And she saw things that Abram could not see. So that's why it says, and here we're talking about the lives of Sarah. She was having a double life. She lived in the upper world and she lived in the physical world. And why is that written over here? Because it is for us. You want to be a successful, happy human being, you must have a double life. You must, on one hand, develop your ability to experience, feel, connect to the upper spiritual realm, because that's where your soul came from. At the same time, you have to excel in this physical world, and you have to understand this physical world, how it works, how success is being achieved. You need to have both. Sarah did it both, and both perfectly. And how do we know? And here we come to the study of the teachings of Kabbalah. We know that the universe was created with 10 sephirot, 10 emanations, 10 dimensions of illumination. Okay? Which means we, our physical senses, we can capture only a very small fraction of the 10th illumination. But there are 10 of them, 10 dimensions. When you study the singularity, the latest theory of physics, it speaks about this universe is basically made of 10 dimensions, although our senses can acknowledge only 3, maybe 4. But the only way that the math of the universe works is with 10. And it says so also in Abraham's book, the Book of Formation, that is known to be the first great Kabbalah book in history. It says that the universe is made of 10. 10, not 9, 10, not 11. And since the discovery, what was called then the superstrings theory, there was always an argument if it's 10, if it's 9 or 11. And Abraham says, no, it's 10, not 9, 10, not 11. But we have some echoing of Abraham's discovery. When he wants something, how do you want it? 1 to 10. Not 1 to 13, 1 to 9, 1 to 10. So of course, how do you want your marriage life to be? How do you want your business life to be? How do you want your health life to be? 10. Everybody wants 10. Yes, 10 describes initially with immediate consciousness 10 dimensions of getting, of taking, of having it, of pleasure experiencing. 10. 10 out of 10. But what do we say? This is the endless light. And by the way, in the creation, it's 10 times that it says, and God said, let there be. So it's hinted in Genesis chapter 1. 10 emanations. Just think about it. Did God really speak? Was there anyone to listen? In the beginning, when there was nothing, did anybody had ears to hear that? Was there air to carry the sound? What's the size of God's vocal cords? We're not talking about a speech the way our brain perceives speech, but you can say this is a saying on architecture or art. It's a saying, it's a statement. So we're not talking about speech. The creation is a statement of the Creator. It's not about speech. It's about a message that is delivered. The message that there's someone there who wants us, his creatures, to enjoy his light. That's a story. So all our lives is to learn that message. Now, what did we say? If you want 10 sephirot, 10 emanations of light, essence, the light of wisdom, the light of essence, the light of pleasure and power, what do you need? You need to create 10 sephirot of chesed. 10 by 10 gives you 100. When you do it with all your might, the 10 of chesed hold on to the 10 of light, and it becomes like one vessel of 100 sephirot. 10 by 10 is 100. This is the life of Sarah. That's why it says 100 year in single. However, there's another way to measure it. You want 10, you give 10, together how much? 20. We learned that also it appears about the story of the half a shekel. And it says that the biblical shekel, the currency, shekel, and we also read about it, this parasha, had 20 units. Why 20? 10 of giving and 10 of receiving. So that's why it says ve'esrim shana, and 20 again year. When the 10 receiving are included with the 10 of giving, the 10 of the light of essence, are being held together with the 10 of light of chesed, it becomes one vessel, complete, eternal vessel. Sarah mastered all of these, 10 by 10, 10 plus 10. And she knew how to, you know what they say, that God is in the details? She knew also how to manifest it in this physical world of contradictions and paradoxes and mix up and blindness. And this world is the symbol for this world is the number 7. Why? Because out of 10, the upper 3 are beyond our consciousness, are beyond our understanding. So what can be understood? 7. 7 days a week, 7 continents. There's so many sevens. So that's why it says Vesheva Shanim, and 7 years. All the details. In this world, there are many, many details, and you know what? Too many trees. If your brain is not mastering that, you can see only details. You see the trees, you can't see the forest. You can see all the pixels, you cannot see the picture. Shnei Hayei-Sarah, the 2 lives of Sarah. She was a complete human being. She lived in the 2 universes in a most harmonious, complete way. She was the mother figure of a human being. You want to be a complete human being, you have to emulate Sarah's life. You have to live a life that is totally devoted to spirituality At the same time, you have to be exact, professional, and productive in the physical world. And there's no contradiction. You could, because you put all of it together, and the glue to put it all together is about giving, sharing. One word, chesed. That is the name of this parasha. Hayei-Sarah, the lives of Sarah. So that if you want to know why your life is not complete, why your life feels so shaky and without trust or insurance or safety, it's all because you didn't build yet that number that is called 100-year, 20-year, 7 years. That was the concept for each one of us. And then there's another thing that we learn about Sarah. Because there are many other things we can get from the same sentence. Why do we say about the big numbers 100-year, 20-year, 7 years? The big numbers are in single, the small numbers in plural. And the Zohar says like this in verse 21 in the Sulam. Zakayu, and remember this is another very important concept for true success, lasting success. You know, if you're really successful for a few minutes, even few days or few years, that's not success. That could be a myth. It comes and goes like many things. Eternal success. Zakayu, says the Zohar in Aramaic, man דאזער גרמי בהי עלמא, כמה יעורב ועילה בהוא עלמא, והכי פתח רב מטיבתא, man דיוזהר יעורב, man דיעורב יוזהר, תכתיב ויהיו חיי שרה, 100 דיו חושבן רב, כתיב בי שנה, זעיר ושנין חד, עזר לי 7 דיהו חושבן זעיר, אז כלי ורבי לי דכתיב שנים. תחזי דלה רבי קודשה בריחו, אלא דזיר. ולא זר אלא דרבי. זכאי הוא מן דזר גרמי בהי עלמא, כמה יעורב בעילויה להוא עלמא. So, the second concept of success and fulfillment, the first was you have to create chesed. You wanted 10, give 10. With your marital life, partnership, business, professionality, everything, and spirituality. That is one concept that you should not forget forever. You forget that, the rest is nothing. Another concept. Praiseworthy is the person that minimizes himself in this physical world. And which means, what do I mean minimize? Every day we have this issue, how much do I have? How big am I? How important? How much did I do? And usually our mind is trained, conditioned, that it is in the physical realm only. You have a lot of money, you have a lot of assets, you'll have a lot of fame, whatever, all of these things, it's in the physical dimension. Whoever is focusing all the time to get his physical reality big and rich on the expense of the spiritual reality, you're just working on to be on greatness in the physical world, but that is nothing. So in the real world, you're small and nothing. And that's why, as I said before, you can have fame, power, money, real estate, just you name it. But if it's all focused on the physical dimension only, you are a very small person. And that's why you feel neurotic, psychotic, anxious, because deep inside you know that it's all nothing. So that's why the Zohar says whoever is great, big, powerful in the physical world is nothing. He's small and meaningless in the real eternal world. However, if The person that is focusing, making the effort to enlarge, to create greatness in the spiritual world, which means awareness, connection, meditation, prayer, values, that they account more, that you really mentally, you really value, like values like honesty, integrity, love, chesed, giving, connection to spiritual powers, connection to spiritual awareness. If you are really building a whole greatness in the spiritual world, maybe you're not going to be appreciated that much by your surrounding. Maybe people will say, like, you're wasting time on that. You could put all of that time in making more money. But you are really great in the real world. It doesn't mean you should have no money. You know, Abraham had a lot of money. It says a few times in the Torah. Okay, Sarah was his partner. So again, the question is, where is your mind? Where do you think greatness is? Where is your mind really find its security and its calling? Building a great awareness of the spiritual world, or just the physical world? If it's just the physical world, you are big in this world, but you're really a small, little, tiny nothing. And if you build a greatness of integrity, a world of values, awe of the greatness of the creation and the creator, you are a great person. What about people? People will say, oh, that guy is giving his money away. He's a nobody. Okay? He's not cheating, he's not lying, he's not a friend with all of these powerful people that live a life of materialism and so on. You know, maybe you're not going to get so much honor from people around you. But as Abraham, you will have a real, true fulfillment and satiation. That means less addictions, less medications, less need for any kind of help with distress and depression and stuff like this, because you're rich and you know that. That's the second great value. Okay, what else we have in this parasha? We have another part. After the death of Sarah, Abraham buys the cave of Machpelah. And the Torah is telling us that he is buying it with 400 shekel kesef. Silver shekel. Silver coins. Okay, a silver coin at that time was, the biblical is about, we're talking about 11, because they found a lot of shekels in the excavations around the Temple Mount. So we know exactly how much they weigh. As far as I remember, it's 11 grams of silver. That's half a shekel, if I'm not mistaken, so 22 grams. 1 shekel, so 400 shekels, that's a lot of money. Especially in those days, because their ability those days to mine the silver were not as of today. So silver was much more expensive than today. So still, why do we have to know it's 400 shekels and not 3,000 shekels? Or 200 shekels? Or 352? And the Zohar is explaining that 400 shekels kesef. Kesef means in Hebrew silver. It means also money. But it means also yearning, passion, cravings. So when you want to buy your Machpelah, remember what we said about Sarah? She lived a double life. What's the cave of Machpelah? Okay, Machpelah means, in simple Hebrew, double. Yes, the Marat Machpelah, it was a cave within a cave. Why is that important? Because that's where the world doubles, the upper world and the physical world. Again, The meaning of Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the cave of Machpelah, is about a connection between the upper and the lower world, between the spiritual dimension and the physical dimension. So you want, the Zohar says, you want to have ownership over the asset of the spiritual world. You need to pay 400 shekels with all your passion, yearning, and cravings. That's what kesef is about. Kisufim, yearnings, cravings, need. If your need is just for physical materials, it will never satiate you. Because you basically transform the real need into elusive need of something physical. It will never satiate you. The hunger will stay forever till you realize that you have to put the effort on achieving the spiritual world, and spirituality is not something that is being gained for nothing. You need to really pay. Abraham paid dearly. He was thrown out of his post, his power, his assets, and the age that most people retire comfortably with all of his assets. He became a wandering shepherd. Did he complain once? No. He simply did what he needed to do. So the buying of Machpelah is about the buying of that double life, overcoming the physical needs and always learning that everything has two dimensions. And whatever you do, if you do it just in one dimension, it's not temporary. It was never there. It's elusive. It looks like it's there and it's gone. Yeah, but it's still in the bank. It will never give you fulfillment. So how do you use money, power, and fame for? If you do chesed with that, it becomes a real estate. If you don't do chesed with that, it's a fake estate. What I mean fake estate? It will never fill you up, will never give you true lasting fulfillment, will not stay with you. It's not a real gain. It's a hoax. It's like playing Monopoly. You know, sooner or later, how long can you play Monopoly? You play an hour, 2 hours. After a while, you put all the cards back and all the assets are gone. It's just a game. It's not a game when you put your cravings and desires into building the worlds of chesed. So that's this message. But now there's another message, which is also, I think, powerful in the same greatness. It's about who took the place of Sarah. And the Midrash is saying the tent of Sarah was empty for 3 years. Till Rivka came, and the moment she came in, the candle, the eternal light, was lit again. Which means Sarah's tent was kind of a tabernacle. It was the Beit HaMikdash, was the Holy of Holies before the temple was physically built. And the eternal light was burning there in her tent. When she passed on, that was a void, emptiness. Only when Rivka came, the light immediately was lit and the holiness showed again. How did that happen? So we read chapter 24. It said that Abram was old, and God blessed Abram with everything. And then Abram calls, I'm reading verse 2, Vayomer Avam el avdo zkan beito, and Abram calls his servant, his elder servant, that runs all his possessions, and he makes him vow to him to go to his family in Haran, Turkey of today, Kurdistan in Turkey. Go there and find a woman for my son, for Isaac. And that woman was supposed to be a wife. You know, just finding a wife, just finding a husband. This is crazy. There are billions of people of the other gender. What are my chances to find my own soulmate? And more than that, you have to find somebody that's not just going to live in peace with Isaac, who's a special human being. She should take the place of Sarah. Whoa, what a responsibility. Eliezer goes to Haran. As he enters Haran, he goes to the well. And he's standing there. And he's in fear and awe and stress. How it's like the whole responsibility is just on me. And what is he doing? He's praying to God. And what does he say? Verse 12, chapter 24 in Genesis. Vayomar, Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham. God, the Lord of my masters Abraham, Hakrena lefanai hayom, like, give me this incident, that opportunity, that event, that happening, and do chesed with my master Abraham. I'm standing by the water, by the well, and the girls of this city will come to draw water for the families. And it will be that the girl, that I will tell her, give me some water from your jar. And if she answers, I'll give you and also give to your camels, you would prove to me that this is the woman. This is very, very risky. What are you talking about? And what if this girl is somebody not fitting to Isaac? What if she doesn't belong to the family? Rabbi Ashlock says when you don't know what to do, pray. Pray to God again and again and again. Pray with certainty. Because what you need is not the answer. What you need is your connection to God. Your reward is not that your answer will be fulfilled. Your reward will be that you'll be stronger, connected to God. But the moment you're connected to God, you would know what to do. Remember the story we had about the cows singing Psalms 98? Remember the story about Jonah? These stories are like so illogical. What are we talking? And there are many of them more in the parasha. This story is also illogical. That's how you find a bride to such a special person. For everyone. Yes. If you're trying, think about it. When somebody is in love, truly in love, he didn't fall in love. He created love. He worked very hard with another person to create a real eternal love between two people, two adults. And love is something it takes a long time to build. Like it says in this parasha, where when Rivka is being brought to Isaac to marry to, nobody asked him even. But it said that he took her as a wife and he loved her. This is a very important verse to learn. Chapter 25, verse 67. ויביאה יצחק האוהל אשר עמו, and Yitzchak brought her, Rivka, to the tent of Sarah, his mother. ויקח את רבקה ותהי לו לאישה, and he took Rivka to become his wife. ויאהביה, and he loved her. How can you love somebody you hardly know? Oh no, we met a few times for coffee. We even went to a dance party. You know what? We even hiked together. You don't know a person like that with that. So I ask you again, when somebody really created love, it's a couple that met, decided they have mutual goals. They worked really hard to become a team, and they work like a team, and that harmony is called love. They really feel like one. That's not romance. That's real love. In Hebrew, ahava means it's the numerical value of the word ahava. Love is echad. Aleph chet dalet, 13. The number 13 is very significant. Ahava is 4 letters. Aleph, echad, 1. Hey, 5, 2. Hey, bet, 2. Hey, 5. So together it is 13. Echad, the word for 1. Aleph is 1. Chet is 8. Dalet is 4. 13. Ahava is 1. When two people feel like one, that's love. Now a psychologist comes to that person who really created love. He comes to the couple. Can you explain it to me? Explain what? What you feel. When you feel love or true happiness, you can't explain. You don't have to explain. See somebody riding a bicycle. Can you explain it to me? No. You take a bicycle, get on it, and try. You will fall a few times. Finally, if you insist, you don't care about the wounds and about the hurts, you will create love. Like riding bicycles. Like everything, like being a professional. It's about the goal. It's about not giving up. It's about integrity and honesty. So, all of these concepts that we learn in this parasha, they're beyond the physical logic. You don't study that in school, not in high school, not in university. Unfortunately, they're beyond logic. They belong to the world that Sarah is teaching us about. That's the other world. And this physical world is meaningless without the other world. And I think that this is a very powerful message, especially nowadays. That all what we know is still continue to shake. The mental, social, economical earthquakes are coming one by one. And it's all about thinking outside the box. Like cows singing Psalms 98. Like finding a wife by the well, by simply having a prayer. You pray, you connect to God. When you connect to God, it's not logical, but it's real. Then you find what you need. Finding a mate, finding a job, finding sustenance. It's nothing to do with just logic. It belongs to the real, true other world. No. This is the other world. The real, true world of spirituality. And learning to be in two worlds as one, that's a mission. And that's the secret of success. Thank you so much.